What if I told you that rage isn't simply a feeling, but a fire that burns holes in your soul? It's not a metaphorical flame. It's a force that burns the energy field around you, leaving breaches through which your life force eventually leaks out. Most people conceive of anger as a quick response. You become mad when someone insults you, and then it goes away. But what if the old mystics were right when they said that every time you give in to anger, you are making the invisible armor that guards your spirit weaker? Masters in hidden temples and secret schools of wisdom said that anger is one of the worst things for the soul. Anger doesn't make anything, it only eats away at everything. Sadness can purify and fear can warn. It is like fire that is out of control, burning both the opponent and the hand that holds it. That is why wise people from different cultures, like the Stoics in Greece and the yogis in India, said that someone who is angry is already a slave, no matter how strong or powerful they seem in the world. When someone gets upset, their heart rate goes up, their breathing becomes shorter, and their vision narrows. Today, scientists call this the fight or flight response, but mystics called it the moment when the lower self takes over the higher self. When someone is angry, their mind goes to the densest regions of their body, cutting off their access to clarity, knowledge, and higher perception. A wise person once stated, "He who conquers anger, conquers himself." The ancients understood this. In this video, we'll look at how anger affects our spirits in a fundamental way. First, we'll look at how ancient cultures saw rage as a spiritual disease, not just a passing sensation. Then we'll take a look at how rage impacts your karma, energy body, and the invisible forces that shape your fate. Finally, I will give you some useful tips from both the past and the present that can help you turn your anger into strength, clarity, and peace of mind. If you stick around, I think you'll find out something that will alter your perspective on one of the most damaging emotions. To comprehend the spiritual ramifications of rage, we must first delve into the insights of antiquity, as they were the pioneers in identifying its concealed perils. The Stoics taught that rage was not just an emotional outburst, but also a moral and spiritual failure. Seneca, a wise Roman, said that anger is an acid that eats away at the container that holds it. He thought that rage was a destructive power that ate away at reason, virtue, and the peace of the soul. It was harmful to others and, most crucially, to oneself. The Stoics said that the only way to find true freedom was to carefully cultivate equanimity, a mentality that is not affected by anger. In the East, over the oceans, the yogis and Buddhist teachers spoke in similar ways. The Buddha says in the Dhammapada that hatred never goes away by hatred, only through love. He said that anger veils perception, causes karmic repercussions, and ties the soul to pain. Taoist philosophy says that anger is a fire that burns the subtle energy called qi, which messes up the natural flow of life in the body and the universe. Taoist sages taught that anger that isn't controlled changes the spirit, moving it away from harmony with the universe, just like a storm that bends a river off its path. Anger was not taken lightly, even in mystical Christian traditions. Monks and ascetics called it a spiritual problem, a demon that might live in the heart and change the will. The Desert Fathers, who went into the desert to think, stressed the importance of prayer, self-examination, and detachment in order to recognize and get rid of anger. They knew that the feeling is never neutral. It has a frequency that can be felt in both the seen and unseen worlds, drawing more conflict. Anger was not just a moral issue, it was also an energy one. Ancient Hermetic books, including parts of the Corpus Hermeticum, suggest a subtle truth. Emotions are vibrations, currents in the ether that we can't see. They say that anger vibrates at a low, heavy frequency. It makes the aura unstable and makes it harder for the spirit to connect with higher realms. Anger has a vibrational weight that draws in situations and energies that are similar to its destructive character, which keeps the cycle of conflict and misery going. Mystics from Persia to Greece, India to Egypt have always said that anger makes it harder to see inside yourself, hinders your intuition, and breaks your connection with higher consciousness. The goal was always the same, no matter the culture: to change this unstable energy into insight, clarity, or positive action. The ancients not only condemned rage, they endeavored to comprehend it, quantify it, and transmute it into a power capable of refining the soul rather than annihilating it. The spiritual effects of rage are much worse than the social or bodily ones. They change the structure of the inner world, pushing the spirit into chaos. The only way to get this lost ground back is by awareness, mastery, and practice. To understand how rage affects your spirit, think of it as a storm raging inside your subtle body, which is the unseen framework of energy that surrounds and supports you. This storm doesn't only mess with the mind, it also messes with the emotional, mental, and spiritual layers, causing chaos that can last long after the first trigger has passed. Anger is not neutral, it is energy in action, a stream that can either help or hurt you, depending on whether you control it or let it run wild. Picture the spirit as a crystal. Every thought, feeling, and action adds a thin layer to this framework, changing how clear it is, how well it resonates, and how well it aligns with higher consciousness. When anger is expressed carelessly or kept inside, it operates like molten lava, burning the crystal and causing cracks and breaks that weaken the entire. Over time, these cracks build up, making the person more sensitive, more open to deeper emotional pain, and less able to see subtle spiritual truths. Anger also leaves an energetic mark that goes beyond the body. Ancient seers said that anger can make the aura, the bright zone that surrounds all living things, darker or unstable. Think of the aura as a still pond. Every furious thought sends forth ripples like throwing a rock into the water. The pond gets murkier the more often and strongly these waves happen. This murkiness not only makes it hard for you to think clearly, but it can also draw in vibrations from the world around you that are comparable to your own, bringing in disputes, hatred, or impediments that are like the storm inside you. In a more mystical sense, rage is like a law of resonance. It travels through the unseen currents and changes reality in small but irrefutable ways. Also, rage has a direct effect on the soul's growth. Every spiritual school that talks about changing yourself from the inside out says that emotions like anger can have karmic effects. In the language of karma, anger produces seeds that will always grow into something bad, like pain, suffering, and cycles of conflict. The mystics of India referred to this as dukkha, the anguish exacerbated by uncontrolled emotional energy. The Stoics saw it in a different way, calling it a failure of reason and a barrier to virtue. But the same idea is behind the words. Anger ties, eats away at, and limits the soul's potential. Anger is also closely linked to the lower self, which is the portion of our minds that is controlled by instinct, ego, and want. Anger takes over and takes away reason, changes how we see things, and makes us less focused. This is shown in the body by shortness of breath, a fast heartbeat, and higher levels of cortisol, but it is much deeper on a spiritual level. The mind is a battleground, and the spirit is a prisoner. One loses sight of larger values, gut feelings, and the small things that lead to smart action. This is why wise people say that controlling your wrath is not an option for someone who wants to be spiritually clear. But it is important to remember that rage is not always bad. It can warm, light, and clean, just like fire, but only if it is guided by consciousness. Without control, it eats anything. With control, it may become a tool for understanding, showing us hidden truths about ourselves, our attachments, and our unresolved sorrow. The goal is to recognize and change your anger, to see it without identifying with it, to feel it without giving in to it, and to turn its raw energy into clarity, action, or creative insight. Now let's look more closely at the less obvious, often ignored aspects of anger. It's easy to see the bodily and mental impacts, including a beating heart, cloudy judgment, and acting on impulse. The spiritual effects, on the other hand, happen in places that most people can't see. Many esoteric traditions see anger as a vibration that changes the paths of subtle energy, or nadis, as the yogis name them. This makes it harder for prana, the life force, to circulate. When anger builds up, it hurts the energetic body in the same way that a river full of trash stops flowing and becomes toxic. This stops essential energy from sustaining consciousness. Anger also pulls in situations and beings that have the same heavy vibration on the astral realm. Hermetic literature and Kabbalistic teachings hint at this idea. Emotions send out waves that affect the invisible forces that shape reality. When someone often gives in to wrath, their aura gets thicker and darker. This creates an energy signature that might draw in conflict, antagonism, and even parasitic energies. This was commonly called the shadow of anger by the ancients. It is an invisible friend that follows the angry mind wherever it goes, changing thoughts, decisions, and even fate. Also, anger makes it hard to see things spiritually. The Eastern mystics talk about a state called manas, which is the mind's higher faculty. This state lets you see subtle truths and have intuitive insights. Anger distorts this ability, making it harder to see beyond the immediate triggers of insult, irritation, or unfairness. In very bad cases, it can cause a kind of spiritual blindness, where the person is stuck in a loop of anger and reaction and can't get to greater wisdom or inner direction. This is why wise people said that angry people can't see clearly. The world seems hostile, reality seems twisted, and even the self seems like a stranger. But fury isn't only a story about destruction, it's also a mirror. When we are very angry, we face scars that haven't healed, anxieties that are hidden, and desires that we haven't admitted. Every time you get angry, it's a sign from your deeper self that shows you where your ego, attachment, or insecurity are in charge. You can use anger as a means to get to know yourself better if you don't judge it. The Sufi mystics call this turning the fire inward, using strong feelings as fuel for cleansing instead of destruction. The magic of fury is turning its energy into clear thinking, kindness, and purposeful action. Think about how habitual rage might shape your future. In esoteric traditions, emotional patterns that happen over and over again leave their mark not only on the energy body, but also on the very fabric of reality around the person. This is the notion behind energetic karma, which says that the quality of your inner vibrations affects how events in your life happen. The angry person keeps attracting events that reflect their inner turmoil, whereas the experienced aspirant who learns to control their anger starts to see a world that is in line with calm, awareness, and constructive action. Finally, it's crucial to know the subtle difference between righteous rage and destructive fury. The wise men didn't say that all emotional responses were wrong. What they were against was wrath that is out of control and propelled by the ego, which blinds the mind and breaks the spirit. However, anger that is directed by conscience, wisdom, and awareness can bring attention to injustice, protect the innocent, and start the changes that need to happen. The difference is in mastery. The first one enslaves, and the second one gives power. Anger is both a tempest that may destroy everything and a teacher that can help you learn. The spiritual path doesn't require you to get rid of all your feelings. It requires you to be aware of them, work on them, and change them. One of the most important things you can do in spiritual alchemy is to learn to recognize and control your anger. Knowing how anger affects your spirit is just the first step. You need to practice on purpose to get good at it. The ancients said that wrath, like fire, had to be kept in check and improved. It destroys if you don't stop it. When used correctly, it can reveal truths and change the soul. Here are some useful tips from both old and new sources that might help you notice, change, and let go of your anger. Watch without knowing who you are. The first thing to do is to be alert. When you sense anger mounting, stop and notice it without calling yourself angry. Picture yourself near a river, watching a storm go by. The storm isn't you. It's just something that happens in your mind. This easy separation, seeing rage instead of being it, makes it less powerful over your mind and energy field. This practice is called Sakshi Bhava in yogic writings, which means the state of being the witness. Change through breathing. Breath connects the body and the spirit. Anger causes stress, fast heartbeats, and restricted energy. Deep, conscious breathing helps calm things down and bring back clarity. One method is the 4-part breath. Count to 4 while you breathe in, hold your breath for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, and then stop for 4 counts. This calms the nervous system and spreads out the heavy energy of rage. For hundreds of years, mystics have employed this method to keep their inner peace when they are provoked. Use your anger to make something creative. Instead of holding back your anger, use it in positive ways. The Hermetic thinkers said that energy can't be destroyed, it can only be changed. You can turn the angry energy of anger into something creative instead of destructive by painting, writing, moving, or even doing anything on purpose. This changes the way the subconscious works over time, which lowers instinctive reactive wrath. Think about the main problem. Anger is often a sign from the deeper self. What does this feeling truly mean? Is it fear, insecurity, attachment, or a feeling of unfairness? Writing in a journal or meditating can help you see patterns that, once you understand them, let you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting without thinking. Sufi mystics called this technique turning the fire inward, and they used anger as a way to learn more about themselves. Cleanse your energy. The subtle energy body is important in many spiritual traditions. You can get rid of the energetic residue of anger with techniques like visualization, aura cleansing, or smudging. Picture a golden light flowing through your aura, breaking up the heaviness, bringing back clarity, and putting your energy back in its proper place. Over time, these habits make reactive rage less common and less severe. Make sure your limits are clear. Anger often comes from things outside of us, such dysfunctional relationships, injustice, or poisonous settings, not only from things inside of us. Setting limits to protect your energy is not selfish. It is a necessary part of spiritual hygiene. Calmly state your demands, step back when you need to, and choose places that promote peace over chaos. Daily practices of reflection. Finally, make daily habits that help you stay calm, like meditation, prayer, mindful walking, or reading spiritual books. When you practice silence and reflection on a daily basis, it makes you better able to be calm even when someone tries to provoke you. Over time, you develop what the Stoics referred to as apatheia. Not apathy, but a deep inner liberation from the damaging influence of reactionary emotions. When you use these skills together, anger stops being the boss and starts to help. It turns into a teacher instead of a dictator. showing you the reality about your attachments, views, and inner strength. The journey is slow and requires patience, observation, and hard work, but the result is huge. A clear mind, a strong spirit, and the release of energy that was stuck in bad habits. Anger is more than just a passing feeling. It is a power that affects every part of you. If you don't deal with it, it will cloud your head, hurt your soul, and throw off the balance of your energy. But if you understand and master it, it becomes a powerful teacher that shows you the wounds and attachments that create your life. The ancients knew about this dual nature and warned that being able to control your anger is not only a good thing, it's a crucial step towards spiritual enlightenment and freedom. By being mindful, breathing, thinking, and working with energy, we may turn the fire of rage into light. Every time you consciously hold back, every time you choose to respond instead of react, you enhance the soul's invisible structure. Like a skillful alchemist turns lead into gold, you can turn the hot force of rage into understanding, strength, and peace of mind. Anger has genuine repercussions on your spirit. They are not just distant metaphors. You can feel them in the subtle currents of your being and in the way your life resonates. You get back the strength that anger took from you by seeing the hidden effects, noticing the storm building inside you, and using the skills we talked about today. What once held you back can now help you find clarity, power, and awakening. Keep this in mind. Rage doesn't have to burn. It can show you the way to your best self. Watch it, learn from it, and let it change you.